Welcome to the 5th Rohingya Genocide Remembrance Day event, a path out of genocide, actions for justice and accountability. My name is Wei Wei Nu, a Rohingya human rights and democracy activist and the founder and executive director of Women's Peace Network. As a member of the Rohingya Genocide Remembrance Day Committee, entirely led by the leaders and activists from Rohingya community within and outside of Myanmar. It is my immense honor to serve as the host of the event. Marking 5 years since 2017 attacks of genocide, our event today is structured around 4 sessions. Each sessions include 2 panel discussions, will be highlighted by remarks from the esteemed UN and government officials, leaders, and experts from the Rohingya and international community. For your reference, we have shared the agenda in the chat box below. On behalf of the committee, I would like to truly thank all of you for joining us today, as I hope that today also marks a new chapter for our community. This is because 5 years after the clearance operations, when the Burmese military killed, arrested, tortured, raped our community and burned our homes, we have yet to see our justice. The over 1 million forced to flee from the genocide, still seek refuge across the world, and the over 600,000 Rohingya confined in Burma are in a greater danger of facing more atrocities from the military, especially since its attempted coup. The entire community is facing deteriorating condition, risking everything from detention, forced deportation to death in order to survive. We come here today to raise our awareness of our dire situations, but we have not lost hope. Over the past year, the international community has taken greater steps towards achieving our justice. The US government's Rohingya genocide determination, the ICJ case, the Argentina universal jurisdiction case, to the investigations by the International Criminal Court to prosecute the militaries are among the many commendable actions. It is our hope that today will encourage the international community to pursue more actions for our justice and accountability across Myanmar toward restoring the humanity and the dignity of such victims and survivors of genocide. I would like now to proceed with a 1-minute moment of silence for the victims and survivors of the 2017 genocide, as well as across Myanmar today. As you may know, the military that perpetrated the genocide have also committed mass atrocities against other ethnic and religious minorities across Myanmar. And today, the same military is using many of the similar tactics to brutalize the country's entire population. So please join me in remembering all of the victims and survivors for the next 1 minute. Thank you, everyone. Before I invite our speaker, a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's briefing is on the record and will be recorded. We will have a recording and a summary of the event shortly after we wrap. We also have Burmese interpretation, simultaneous interpretation. Please use the interpretation button below to listen to Burmese interpretation. I am honored to begin our event by introducing our first speaker, Ma Sheku Farah. Ma Sheku Farah is a mother of three who was forced to flee from Myanmar in 2017, currently residing in the Cox's Bazar refugee camp. As the founder and executive director of Rohingya Women Empowerment and Advocacy Network, she is a leading voice for our community's women seeking refuge in Bangladesh. Sister Shekufa, could you please share with us your experiences as a Rohingya in the camps and what you hope to see to bring justice for your family, loved ones, and the community? The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for this opportunity, and I am proud to here with you all today. I'm Shekova from refugee camp Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. Today, Genocide Remembrance Day, 25 August 2022. Today, we Rohingya survivors the mark 5th memorial of what we call Genocide Day. For decades, the Myanmar military systematically conducted operations against our minority Rohingya Muslim population. The clearance operation in 2017 was extremely horrible and made us flee our homeland, Arakani, Myanmar. The world is well known how the Myanmar military committed violence to our Rohingya community, which is called ethnic cleansing and genocide. First of all, we would like to thank to Bangladesh government for hosting us. It has been 5 years now in camp. We are not in a stable position in camps. The situation has gotten worse with illegal activities such as murders and torture. We faced many challenges in these past 5 years as refugees, losing our next generation. Children, futures in the refugee camp is a big issue for us. While we are still in the Bangladesh refugee camp, the authorities should not restrict children's formal education or health care. Approval should be given to patients for medical treatment outside the camp, but instead treat us refugees with respect and dignity. As you know, when it is heavy rain, we can't sleep, dirty water, enter to the shelters. When it is too hot, we can't stay inside the shelters. As shelters are very small with tarpaulin, you know. The most of the camp areas, it is flooded every year. Fire accident happened and sometimes security concerns. Women are affected as victims of trafficking and people are facing difficulties in all the angles. So we are worried to survive continuously in camp. By the way, the people who remain in Arakani state in Myanmar are in an unavoidable predicament. Right now, Myanmar military and Arakani army are fighting in Butidong, Mondo, Retedong township. Very often, Rohingya are targeted and are killed by both parties. Therefore, they are in an extremely difficult condition. Overall, it is totally unsafe there. In due condition, we are worried that possible repatriation may occur. Therefore, we request world leaders, NGOs, UN agencies, and our call for urgent action, urgent step. International pressure must be immediately put on the military government in Myanmar to resolve internal conflict and move forward democracy role that will improve the situation for the Rohingya. We want justice. We want justice and want to return to original home, original places with safety, security, and our citizenship rights. We can never forget 25 August 2017. Let's work together. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait, you are mute.
Thank you very much, Sister Sheikhufa. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your arcs, and your hope with us. Now I'd like to invite our distinguished guest, His Excellency Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah of Malaysia. The minister and member of a Malaysian parliament and a vocal advocate for the situations and future of the people of Myanmar has held a distinguished diplomatic career in Malaysia. Excellency, we'll be very grateful if you could enlighten us with your remark with the Malaysians' commitment to Rohingya and Myanmar and what the ASEAN and the international community could do to protect and bring justice and accountability. Over to you, the Minister.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Wewino, and my beloved brothers and sisters. We are gathered today to remember the Rohingya Genocide Day, the brutality of what happened in 2017. We all know that more than 1 million of our brothers and sisters had to flee, had to run for their life. More than 1 million are now living in Bangladesh, in Cox's Bazar. I had the opportunity to visit them a couple of years back, and I understand perfectly what our sister was saying just now as to the situation in Cox's Bazar, but we must also put on record that we are very thankful to the government of Bangladesh for rendering the kind of assistance I think they have done very much for our brothers and sisters. There are still more than 500,000 or 600,000 of our brothers and sisters still living in dire situation in Myanmar, facing persecution, violence, and so on and so forth. And people who are living as refugees, including in Malaysia, still have, I must admit, some limitation in terms of access to certain areas. And along the way, there are people who have been the victims of trafficking, being asked to stay arrested and stayed in detention centers, and so on and so forth. But we also know that the brutality, the ethnic cleansing, and the genocide by the military happened even before 2017. And some of the Myanmar who are already now residing in Malaysia, they came before 2017, some in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well, for the international community, we must not forget our Rohingya brothers and sisters. And at the same time, we should also look at our brothers and sisters not simply as people who are victims and helpless, but they are like every one of us. They have their own identity, their own culture, they have dignity, they are very resilient people, and they have the right for self-determination just like any one of us. Now, for those who are internally displaced and who are still inside Myanmar, we have to improve the way we deliver humanitarian assistance. And definitely, this is not something that we can do through the junta. I know that there are local-based NGOs who have done quite well, including in distributing vaccination and food and other materials. I have said earlier, and I will be writing in a day or two to the ASEAN Secretary General on the whole, when it comes to humanitarian assistance for Rohingya and all of our Myanmar brothers and sisters in Myanmar, we really have to rethink how we do it. We have established the special task force, and the junta is involved and in some ways leading the task force, and we know there is no progress. But at the same time, other NGOs, local-based NGOs, and so on and so forth, have been doing a very good job. So ASEAN must really consider, do we continue with the special task force, or do we work with people who are really trusted by the locals? Because I also know that when it comes to international funders, some do not want to work with the junta or anyone that is working with the junta. So we really have to think hard on this one. For some of our brothers and sisters who are living as refugees, we have to try and assist so that we can improve their welfare and their health. In the context of Malaysia, we have about 150,000 or more Rohingya refugees. The number fluctuates from time to time, but about that 150,000. We have to improve in the way we manage the situation in at least two areas. One is on employment. There is now an idea that we need to give them some kind of vocational and technical training so that they have the required skill to be able to work and earn a decent earning by themselves. And number two, on education. This is something that the foreign ministry is, we think it is our responsibility as an agency, not that others are not doing it. We are looking at how can we improve the situation of the alternative learning centers run by the NGOs, and still with the existing learning centers, we can only cater to about 30% of the children. We need to do more so that we can cater to all. We need more funding. We have spoken to some international funders, and we are thankful that Qatar Foundation has donated some $50 million for their health programs, and now we are hoping that we can do more. We can use the funding for education. And one big issue here in Malaysia is to provide accreditation to the children who do well and who wants to further their studies, because there are private universities, not so many, but already there are private universities in Malaysia who are willing to recruit them, but we need to give them some kind of accreditation. And this, we are talking to the Ministry of Education, and hopefully we can do this. And hence, and after that, of course, there are other areas like teacher training and so on, but these are some of the things that we are looking at. But we have to solve the root cause of all of this. And the root cause is exactly what have been said by many. It is the military, now the junta, who staged the coup in 2021. The ASEAN leaders have come up with a 5-point consensus, but unfortunately, there don't seem to be real progress. Even though my colleagues, the two foreign ministers, the former special envoy and the current special envoy of the chair of ASEAN, I think they have done their level best, but there is no real progress, and that is why in the recent foreign ministers meeting, Malaysia has proposed a framework that has a clear end game. And the end game is to return to democracy, to return to peace, harmony, and prosperity, and where freedom of the people is guaranteed by the Constitution. And by the Constitution, as I understand it, is not the current Constitution. I think the people of Myanmar, including Rohingyas, want a new Constitution, which to the Rohingya, one of your major fundamental rights, which is now not accorded to by the current Constitution and the other laws, is about citizenship, a very basic right of any individual in any sovereign state. And the ASEAN summit, and the end game has to go through an inclusive consultation of all the major stakeholders, including the NUG and the NUCC, which I have met openly. And I also understand the Rohingya community is looking for a better level of participation within the NUCC. And then there should be some kind of transition plan before you can have a real free election that is agreed by all, not the election that is announced by the junta. And then hopefully we will see the return of democracy, peace, harmony, and prosperity. So the ASEAN summit in November will have to ask the hard question and make big decisions. Do we continue with the 5-point consensus? To what extent are we helping the refugees, the Rohingya in particular, and so on and so forth. And before I end, we must not forget that the military cannot go away with the kind of impunity that they are enjoying today. So Malaysia supports the work of the